everybody. Welcome back to another podcast from the National Council on Interpreting in Healthcare and brought to you by the Standards and Training Committee. It's called Interpreting in Healthcare. And today's guest is somebody that many of you are going to recognize if you've ever taken any online training or if you live in the middle of the country and need a language service provider to represent you, because our guest today is Jinny Bromberg. Now, Jinny has a lot of experience, her fingers in a lot of pies, but let's go back to the beginning where she was certified as a court interpreter in 2004, 20 years ago. She has lived her life as a lifelong advocate for meaningful language access, dedicating her life and her company's efforts to breaking down language barriers. She founded Bromberg and Associates in 1999. And now, 25 years later, under her leadership, this company has grown into an award-winning, internationally recognized language and technology solutions company with expertise spanning over 200 spoken and sign languages. Bromberg serves a diverse range of industries in the U.S. and globally. Since 2021, Bromberg has proudly held a certification as an ASTM F313018 language company. In 2009, Jinny also founded Linguist Education Online, LEO, a testing and training platform designed to equip interpreters and translators with the essential tools for delivering accurate and effective language services, earning certifications, and maintaining their continuing education units. Today, LEO is an accredited training organization partnering with individual students, state courts, school districts, municipalities, call centers, and healthcare organizations to provide top-tier training and testing for bilingual staff and contractors. Since 2020, LEO has also been organizing biannual virtual conferences for translation and interpretation professionals aimed at elevating the profession. Jinny also serves as a board officer for the Association of Language Companies, where she co-chairs the Language Access Subcommittee and is on the Advocacy Committee. And advocacy, together with AI, seem to really be the hot points for this year. So before we get started with our conversation, welcome, Jinny. I'm so glad you agreed to be on the podcast. There's a lot we can talk about today.
Thank you, Eliana. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad you feel that way. I will make a transparent declaration. Jinny and I met at an NCIHC conference in Atlanta in 2008, and we had a blast. And ever since then, I have been a volunteer with this organization, ending up with the presidency this year in April. And I encourage all of you who are listening, all of you who are members, to invite a friend, because if you want to make some change, you got to jump in the pool with the rest of us and start splashing and making waves, because that is how we get stuff done, rather than just wishing it were different. Get in there and help make the difference. So really glad to have somebody who has been making a difference at many, many different levels, getting services to people who need those services, as well as giving opportunities for those with the language skills to get the training that they need, to get certified, to connect with assignments, to connect with positions. A lot of your work has helped connect both ends of the spectrum, not just the people that are hiring interpreters, but the interpreters that are looking for jobs. So with that in mind, and yet, since your bio referenced how things got started, looking back, what sticks out to you as that experience or that moment that really pushed you to keep going, to make this bigger, that light bulb went off over your head? Wow, maybe we could do this.
That's a great question, Eliana. And I would say there are probably a number of moments in all of our lives and careers where you're like, wow, I wish. And then, yes. And you want to stop and cherish those moments, right? But for me, I have to say, I'm kind of split between the moment when I decided that we need to create an organization that would allow interpreters of many languages, at that point, interpreters, to advance their career, become certified, get their CEUs. And that was in 2008. I was driving from an on-site conference and thinking about the fact that myself, as a court certified interpreter, I didn't have a lot of opportunities to get CEUs, get training on the topics that were of interest to me in languages other than Spanish. And even for Spanish interpreters, training options were limited. And at that point, I would say only in person. So that's how the concept of Linguist Education Online was born. But if I may, I have to say that at this moment, because it is a more recent proud moment of mine, is the fact that in 2020, when we were all sitting at home and thinking about the future and the pandemic, we were scared, we were worried. I was looking at, what am I going to do? How am I going to support both companies? How am I going to support the profession? And the light bulb went off. And I thought, well, we're providing training, we're providing testing. Why not bring conferences to people? So that's how the idea of Leo conferences was born. And I am so delighted to be able to do this still. We have the 10th conference coming up in a few months on December 5th and 6th. And Leo conferences allowed us to bring professionals from different parts of the industry, from different parts of the world together to have meaningful discussions, to have conversations about things from advocacy, AI, as you mentioned so aptly, to skill building, accessibility, moving the profession forward, getting everybody on the same page. So that is the moment that I still cherish and get excited when I'm working on our conferences every time.
And the thing I think that's unique about you is that you have that sort of iconoclastic view and that you encompass all of the players and all of the needs of all of the players, rather than just representing clients that hire interpreters, rather than just representing interpreters and translators looking for clients, rather than offering only continuing education units so that people can keep their certifications in good order. It's like a one-stop shop. Like everything is under the same roof, which is such a benefit for those that are looking for what they need, because we need all of those pieces. We need to get certified, so we need the training to get certified and to stay certified, but then we need the jobs to be able to work in the profession. And all of those are challenging, especially for independent contractors, to connect with something that's reliable, that's good value, that's quality. So kudos, well deserved. And you know, in your bio, you didn't mention a very special award in entrepreneurship that I would like you to tell us about.
Well, are you referring to the award that I received this year?
Yes.
Well, yes. I received the Enterprising Woman of the Year award earlier this year, and that was such an honor. It was so amazing. I went to the event to receive the award and was just in awe at the variety of great women and entrepreneurs from all states and from abroad as well.
Wow.
Yes, absolutely. That was great. We had people from Africa, we had people from South America receiving the award. That was so impressive. And just was great to see women creating businesses, running successful businesses all over the place. Yeah, that was great.
Well, that ties in kind of nicely with what I said at the beginning. Don't just wish for it. You got to take some action to make things happen. One of the little techniques that I teach people that I train as interpreters for when they get stuck and then the panic washes over you because you're about to say the word and I don't know, a door slams or something and it startles you and then that word is gone. And what do I do in that next moment? And sometimes it's as simple as wiggling your toes inside your shoes or opening and closing your hand, just a physical movement to nudge you out of that frozenness. And inaction is not going to bring us what we need. Action will help us get closer to what we want. So when you look around at the current climate, the current situation, you brought up a good situation, a good example that during the pandemic, boy, did we suddenly realize we can do a lot of this online. All those hospitals that for a long time strenuously objected to doing telehealth via video, all of a sudden were forced to figure out how to do it on the fly. And even though things have quote unquote somewhat gotten back to normal, telehealth has not dropped down to zero, has it? It continues, as do court hearings via Zoom, as do behavioral health appointments, not just physical health, even physical therapy, all sorts of things that people used to say, oh, no, that's impossible. That has to be in person. So when you look around now, what do you see either as something to be concerned about or a challenge or something that you're really excited about because it's a huge opportunity? What's going on right now?
So I have to say that I'm really excited about something, and that is the final ruling under Section 1557 of the ACA. I think that was a big boost. And if we are not aware of it, if we're not privy on what it says, I granted it's a 600-page document, but there are a lot of webinars on the topic. There are a lot of excerpts to read and understand how it boosted the previous versions. And this is something that definitely can help the profession in convincing our clients that language access is not a luxury and it's not an expense. It's a threshold, it's a benchmark. It's the same as washing your hands when you walk into the patient's room.
Absolutely.
So that is something that I'm very much excited about. And I absolutely love to see it be told more, implemented more. And next year, when HHS starts doing their check-ins, I'd like to see how that's going to go and what lessons we're going to learn at that point. So that's something that I definitely value and appreciate, and I'm excited to see to continue. I also love something else, if I may. I like the fact that I am seeing a shift in understanding of language access by more and more people.
Yay.
Yes, I have conversations with people not in the industry, but maybe they work for a nonprofit, maybe they work for healthcare or a government organization. And the term language access is well familiar to many of them. Language justice is another term that I hear more and more frequently. Think about 5 years ago, forget 10 years ago. That was not heard anywhere. So we're making some strides. And I also love the fact that I'm seeing the industry, the different siloed parts of the industry come together more, because that's how we advance together.
I totally, totally agree. We have allies that we're not even aware of that are out there fighting the same fight. We have to widen the beam of our flashlight so that it takes in slightly bigger area so that we can partner, because there is truth in that. There is strength in numbers. And the more, whether it's the more postcards or emails a senator or a congressperson receives, if they get 5, if they get 500, ooh, what's this? If they get 5,000, they're like, oh, I got to do something about this. So whenever you think I'm just one person, don't think like that. Think, where are 2 friends that I can bring along with me while we go do something about whatever the issue that has you concerned? That's how we get things done here. And that's what I'm hoping the message of this podcast gets people involved. You don't have to join the National Council per se, although we welcome new members all the time, and we want you to work in areas or volunteer in areas doing that thing that you enjoy doing, because then it doesn't feel like work, right? But there's so many ways that we can participate if we take that first step. And I don't like to bring politics into this discussion. I just want to say that I am feeling new energy, and I am grateful for that new, younger energy. So I invite those of you that have become excited about how things suddenly have opened up to get involved. Don't just dip your toe in, jump in.
There is a good expression. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Yep.
Let's be at the table.
Let's be at the table. And like one of my heroes from way back 1972, who ran for presidency as a woman, said, if they don't offer you a seat at the table, bring your own chair.
Exactly. Yes.
So, looking ahead, what do you see as the things that we who are interested in supporting language access and language justice should be looking at, should be keeping our eyes on, should be spending some of our time working on? What's out there that's big on your radar?
I do have I would say a concern, and that is with the rate of AI adoption. I like AI, don't get me wrong. I think technology is great. AI could be extremely beneficial in the right hands as the right application. But I see too many people who are either afraid of it for a variety of reasons, or are too enamored by it. They think it's going to solve all the world's issues, or at least their issues, where in reality, it's just a tool. And it needs to be used the way a tool is, appropriately. So that's my concern. When healthcare organizations who would never consider, or I hope would never consider, replacing nurses, doctors, or other healthcare staff, still, in spite of even legal regulations, are sometimes eager to even consider replacing professional interpreters. We need to be keeping a very close eye on what's going on there. And again, pull up a chair and be at the table in those conversations. Because if not, it could impact the profession, and not just as in healthcare, but in other verticals.
Absolutely. This is one of those situations where interpreters, translators, community folks, if you are married to somebody that works in IT, or who works developing these large language models, bring them to us. This is where we need to really reach beyond our comfort zone into professional arenas that we may not have that many contacts, but we need to have conversations early about where the danger zone is. If it's something that is constant and unchanging, like directions, please let's use AI. But if somebody's life could be at stake or their liberty, and there could be nuance in the communication, I don't think AI is quite there yet. So let's use both the human talent and the machine talent.
Yes, with human in the loop or human in the core, depending on what is the nature of the encounter, we need to be mindful of that. And that's how we should proceed.
This is a great opportunity for us to reach out and find contacts on the AI tech side of things and warm and work those relationships and have the conversations. I love certain aspects of ChatGPT, but I am not going to let them write my life statement if I'm applying for college. I'm going to write my own content and have it assist me by correcting grammatical errors and spelling errors and even phrasing and syntax. But it has to be a joint effort still at this point. We're not quite as the automated cars have shown us, they do a great job most of the time, but then when they don't, it's really bad when they run over a pedestrian or take a logging trail thinking that it's a road and then that person is stuck somewhere in the wilderness. There's still errors being made that are not permissible in certain areas where, as I mentioned, either your health or your pocketbook or your liberty are at stake. We need to have that oversight, that proofreader, that second guesser, that devil's advocate that happens to be a human being giving input, because then it will only improve the technology. It will get better. It will get to the point where it can do everything, but it's not there yet. And so for people to say, you can get rid of all of your interpreters and translators and just use our automated software, it's too soon. Maybe someday, but not today. And nobody's having the conversation with the people who buy these services who, as we know, often don't speak a second language or have much understanding about what do I need? I just want to check the box that says I have complied with what's required by Title VI or Section 1557. So we just need to do a better job educating the purchasers. And I'm happy to say National Council does have a white paper out that gives you purchasers of language access services questions to ask of the sales force when they're there doing their pitch for you, questions that will allow you to make better choices, I think. So let's share that with our friends as well. Find new friends in tech and share our white paper with them, please.
Absolutely. I read the guidance several times. It's excellent. And I really appreciate the fact that it's not a position statement per se, but rather a list of very good, very in-depth questions that anyone in a position to purchase AI should be asking. We're in test and verify state. We are not in trust and verify state when it comes to AI.
It's like being the parent of a teenager.
Well, except that they still have fewer hallucinations than AI.
Even though they're demonic. That's what I would always remind myself. They can't plan ahead. You've got to point out the pitfalls. Their brains aren't wired to think that way. It's the same thing. AI is a
Yeah.
teenager still, so we need to give it some guidance.
Yeah, and it's an early teenager. It's not even there yet.
It's a preteen wanting
Yeah,
a new
yeah,
iPhone. All right.
yeah. No, wanting to drive.
Oh, yeah. While they're on their iPhone. Yeah, that's why it's.
Exactly. I think we just painted a perfect picture of what AI is as of today.
So, but we still love technology. I am not anti any of this, but it needs to grow up, is I think what our conclusion is.
Yes,
And most importantly, we need to have a more holistic approach to supporting the profession, as you have shown us by example. Rather than piecemeal, we need to be able to train people to sit and take and pass the national certification exam, and then have widely available training for them to continue their education and continue to perfect their level of proficiency and their abilities to pivot in difficult situations, and all of those things that require nuance and sensitivity that AI has yet to acquire. And never
absolutely.
mind advocacy or
Oh,
patient
yes.
safety.
Or
But
consistency, even consistency of delivery. With AI, today you will have one answer, tomorrow you will have another because it is changing, but
yes,
it is AI. With human, you can have consistently accurate rendering. You can have a completely different approach, and that's what we need to teach and share, and
absolutely.
hopefully have an ear open of those who are purchasing healthcare
And it's
services.
surprising the things you learn. I had a friend ask AI to calculate their grad school grade point average, asked the same question 4 times, and got 4 different answers. But the fifth time, how they asked the question was different. And it was, pretend you are a science officer like Spock on the Starship Enterprise and calculate the GPA using the following grades. That one was correct. So
Wow.
that really cracked me up. You had to tell it that it was smart first.
Wow,
So,
that's an interesting prompt engineering. I wouldn't have thought of that.
and there are so many things that we don't know, and there are things that I know I don't know. And Johari's window, there are also things that I don't even know I don't know. And a lot of what we're doing with AI is in that room right now. We have to bring over to oh, so I need to do this in order to do that. Now I know that I don't know this area, is very different than the things that you have no awareness that you're unaware of. And that's still a big chasm to cross. But
Absolutely.
as we've been trying to make the point, we are not anti-technology. We are not anti-AI. I was an early user of the thing that people couldn't understand, which was a translation memory versus Google Translate. And I knew the more material that went through and was verified, the more robust that, what should I say, custom dictionary became, and the better it got at getting the bulk of the translation work done. Each subsequent assignment, it got faster and faster and better and better. And that's all we want to do with the current technologies, is improve and improve until they are ready to jump into a wider variety of scenarios. But claiming that it can handle everything plus the kitchen sink right now is a false claim, unfortunately. And I hate to see people who actually have access to the budget fall for that. And then it's when something bad, when we have that negative outcome, or in other words, when somebody gets really sick or is harmed or they die because of an error, that suddenly everyone will jump to and try to figure out why. And I want us to jump to and figure out before we do that to anybody. So I welcome you all to the table, tech developers, software developers, programmers. There's something called the Safe AI Task Force that is wide open to having this dialogue with folks. And if you Google Safe AI Task Force, you will go straight to their web page. And I am making an open call for anyone involved in developing this to come and chat with us and help us develop the guidance that keeps all of us from going over the edge of the cliff while allowing us to take advantage of the increased efficiency, speed, accessibility, or access to a rarer language that is the promise of AI and language access. But from one woman business owner to another, yes, you can talk the talk, but I got to see you walk the walk before you convince me that this is a good thing. What do you
That's
think?
right. That's right. Test and verify. That's where I'm
Like
at.
you said, AI is like the teenager in the house who wants to drive while they're watching their phone. So we need to step in and not ban them from driving for the rest of their life, but just provide some of that guidance and education so that what needs to get done gets done safely. And then things are better for everybody.
And on the flip side, I would love to see more of the language industry professionals learn more and not necessarily be afraid of AI because they may not know how to use it or because they are concerned that it will take their jobs away. Because guess what? It could do that regardless. But again, with the same premise, if you are not at the table, you're on the menu, we need to be involved. We need to take it in our own hands as much as possible.
Yeah.
And be able to prove where it works and where it doesn't work. But that starts with awareness and knowledge.
When video remote interpreting was first coming on, and we were early adapters when I worked at Harborview Medical Center, and back in 2008, we had that. And a lot of hospitals said no because of HIPAA, and a lot of interpreters were threatened by it. But what I used to say was, look, there will still be jobs for in-person interpreters. It's not going to take all the jobs away, but an interpreter that can work in person and can provide language assistance and support via video is just going to have the pick of more assignments than someone who says, no, I'm only available if it's in person. You'll still have assignments, just won't have as many to choose from. And I think the same thing applies with learning how to use AI, whether it's to support note taking, whether it's to do the first pass on something that then needs to be listened to or read before it's released to that community. I think we're there now, and there's room to employ the people with the language skills to help make your AI better, rather than just sort of throwing the AI into the deep end of the pool and expecting it to be able to swim. So I implore you, tech folks, let's all get together and do this as well as it can be done, rather than run around putting out fires after a premature release of something that you promised beyond our current capabilities. That's where I see us.
Very true. Very true. And the same applies for healthcare organizations. AI is not HIPAA compliant. How can it be? So that's something to consider from the get-go, not when DOJ knocks on the door.
And we know they will, or at least here in the Pacific Northwest, they have. So take something from that experience, everybody in other areas, because somebody is watching.
And that's a good thing.
And that's a good thing. And we know we can do this in a way that is compliant and in a way that will support greater, widening language access. And that's something we all want.
That's right.
Well, Jenny, it's been awesome talking to you today. I can't wait until the event in December. But until then, thanks so much for taking your time out of your busy schedule, spending a little bit with us here at Interpreting for Healthcare. And to all of you that were listening, go to the NCIHC site. We have an outward public-facing resource you don't have to be a member to access that lists all of the legislation and executive orders that pertain to language access by community, by city, by state, and at the federal level. If you're looking for arguments to make to not reduce your staff or to be able to expand your staff or help support their continuing education costs, or even to just basically offer language access service in your place of residence, business, healthcare, library, school park, you can find the legislation that will help convince your risk management and your legal team at the place where you work that this is something that needs to be done. And here are the precedents, the legal precedents to help support your argument. So that's available to all of you. And I will see you all at the next episode of Interpreting for Healthcare, sponsored by the National Council on Interpreting in Healthcare. Thank you, Jinny. Thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure. Take care.